Come on! Unity is a web series filmed and edited by Emily Jansen as she lives in her vehicle, traveling the United States and documenting the many other types of alternative living, exposing audiences to the growing change in perspective and lifestyle for a common unity.
East Jesus is a habitable experimental art installation that is a constantly evolving symbiosis of art and sustainability. Charlie first came out to this Slab City in 2006 and worked on Salvation Mountain with Leonard Knight. In 2007, he quit his job, bought a secondhand shipping container, packed all his belongings into the shipping container, and had the shipping container and his 2 art cars brought down to the furthest corner of Slab City, which had been being used as essentially the dump of Slab City. He took all the trash and started arranging it into sculptures and began to build what is now East Jesus. After he passed of a heart attack in 2011, his friends and the Friends of East Jesus came together to continue to operate East Jesus so people could see his work and the work of other artists that had contributed to the project. Since then, we've become a 501c3. We're also the only art museum in Imperial County. East Jesus isn't an intentional community as such. Our goal is not communal living. Our goal is to protect, preserve, and expand on the artworks of Charles Russell. However, because we're so remote and because of the demands of this particular area, as well as Charlie's sustainability goals, it does require an on-site staff. So we do have artists in residence who operate East Jesus. We're all volunteers. Many of us are disabled or retired. Some are here to spend time to live in their creativity. The largest staff we've had was 18, and it was too many. It was really pushing the boundaries of our infrastructure. The ideal number for us is about 10. I first came out to East Jesus in October of 2012. My husband had found pictures of the bottle wall online, so we posted to some of our friends on Facebook, "Has anyone heard of East Jesus?" A couple of them said, "Yeah, there's a party there next week. You guys should totally go." We came out, and it was incredible. And so we started coming out weekends, more and more and more and more. A year later, I had a major medical situation and was basically at a position where I had to take medical retirement. After a couple days at home, staring at the walls, no longer allowed to drive a car, now needing 24-hour care, I was going to go insane. And so my husband said, well, let's go to East Jesus for a while in between your medical appointments. And we haven't really left since then. We look at everything as an opportunity for reuse. We are fully off-grid. We make our own power through solar. We store it in batteries, which we keep in a shipping container that we've insulated with hay bales and waste styrofoam. We compost all our own waste. We use all our water twice. We grow a lot of our own produce. In many ways, East Jesus is a high-tech favela. We have all the power and equipment and technology of a modern civilization, but in many ways, we're living in the distant past. Nothing is disposable here, partially because that isn't in our ethos, but also partially because there's nowhere to dispose of it. A lot of people don't know this, but Slab City is not allowed access to the county dump. And so it's not just an issue of people leaving trash around. There is literally nowhere to take it. So we have to look at everything through a different lens. One of our missions is to inspire people to imagine a world without waste, in which every action is an opportunity for self-expression. There's a lot of things we're doing at East Jesus that could be applied in a larger setting. And one of our goals is to take the knowledge that we've gathered and share it. The batteries that run the power for East Jesus are technically at end of service life. They're used telecommunication batteries, and they're only at between 12 and 16% of their storage capacity. They're technically dead, but there's enough of them that it still allows us to hold 30 kilowatts. 30 kilowatts is plenty to run East Jesus. If you think about all the batteries that are used for backup systems in critical infrastructure, hospitals, telecom, these batteries are no longer useful to those corporations when they hit 80%. But a rural clinic or a tribal school or a rural farmer, they could use that to run a solar system for another 10 years after these companies would dispose of them. Those batteries could be life-changing. We are constantly living under threat of drought in Southern California. Even in the years when we weren't in a drought, it was still the threat of the drought. Freshwater access is becoming a bigger and bigger problem all over the world. One of the ways somebody phrased it to me once is that we know that Americans don't value clean water because we poop in it. 6 gallons of water so that we don't have to deal with it. But we still have to deal with it. It goes to sewage treatment plants and goes into our bodies of water when it could be used to recapture the nitrogen and the minerals. Humaner is what it's called. It does take a year to kill off the human pathogens, and it's a careful process that's semi-scientific with thermometers and gauges and soil testing. But if we're serious about water conservation, it's time to start looking at alternatives to water flush toilets. All these ideas are scary to people who live in the cities. One of the things that East Jesus makes a real difference with is people come out here and they take tours. They walk through our facility. We explain how we do things. Sometimes up to 1,000 people a week come for free tours. When they leave here, composting toilets are no longer scary. Solar power is no longer scary. Water conservation is no longer scary. And so simply providing a demonstration place for those sustainability improvements makes a huge difference. The world has changed a lot since I graduated college in '99. Everything was booming. It didn't take me long to save up for a down payment on a house. Taught high school for 15 years, so when I became so disabled I could no longer work, I had options. I had my teacher's pension, I had my revenue from my apartment building. I could make it work. When I look at some of the folks in their mid-20s to mid-30s now, it's terrifying. Those opportunities aren't there. Housing prices are out of control. Wages are so stagnant that there's no option to save. But we're also stuck in this situation where society is set up in such a way that it costs money to live. If you want a phone, you're going to need cash. If you want a car, you're going to have to insure it. And so it's tough because how do you keep paying for these things living on nothing? The good news is that the internet has changed that. My advice would be find something you can do online. Medical transcription, selling things on Etsy, whatever. Stuff that you couldn't live in the city on, but will give you just that extra couple $100 a month you need for your phone and your car insurance and to buy food staples that you can't grow. Then get a reliable rig, downsize everything, take your home with you, drive around until you find a place where you can live, and then make your home.